Welcome to my review of the short film, Stepdad Takes Advantage of Slutty Cuties. We shall begin with a summary of the events of the film. We open the video from the perspective of the stepdad. Two young, beautiful girls enter. One, a blonde, rude and angsty. The other, brunette, ditzy and friendly. They greet our protagonist. We learn that the blonde is his daughter, the brunette her friend. The friend introduces herself. Scantily clad, we can see some camel toe in the friend's jean shorts. The camera lingers on her perhaps too long, demonstrating the stepdad's already sinister intentions. He makes some stupid comment to the girl about how he's her friend's stepdad. He almost seems nervous, but perhaps this is just bad acting. They have some banter about his breakfast. His stepdaughter insults his health decisions. He takes offense. The dialogue continues to be abhorrent. His stepdaughter tells him to fuck off and says she hates him, seemingly without provocation. He asks why, and she says, "Don't act like you don't know." The mystery builds when he retorts, "Oh, so you can blackmail me now?" Perhaps he just doesn't know the definition of the term blackmail. The two girls then retire to the stepdaughter's room. The camera again lingers longer than it should on the friend as she walks away. Cut to the bathroom. The first shot is of our protagonist's phallus. I believe this shot is intended to remind us that this is indeed a pornography, and not a poorly acted drama about the struggles of a broken family. The camera turns, and we discover that the friend has been watching our main character. We'll call him Papa from now on for the sake of brevity. He confronts her. She claims she was looking for a bathroom, apologizes, and then compliments the size of his member.
An impressive cock.
I had resisted remarking on it myself, but since she mentions it, I will say it is quite the specimen.
Impressive.
I certainly hope for my mother's sake that my own stepfather is as well endowed as he is. He protests, but after some brief conversation, invites her to touch it. She seems concerned that her friend will be upset, but relents almost instantly, on the condition that he not tell his stepdaughter. She then says, "I'm scared," as she drops to her knees. He asks if she's sure she wants to, almost demonstrating remorse, but she proceeds. Almost instantly, she requests to fillet Papa, asking, "Isn't that what the bad girls do?" He pretends again to have a sense of shame, but relents almost instantly, and she proceeds. The acting again fails to deliver. That or the blowjob skills of this young girl border on prodigious. For when I was a teen, receiving the first blowjob of another teen, that teen wasn't a quarter as competent as this one. Papa even remarks on this, telling her, it's pretty good for her first time. She claims, quote, "I watch porn." This excuse seems dubious to me. I too watch porn and yet disappoint every woman I sleep with. Perhaps, however, this is intended as a reminder. As if the writers are saying, be reminded, dear viewer, that this is but a fantasy. Do not pursue your daughter's friends in real life. All you'll receive is a scraped penis and your name on a registry. Only in your reveries are young girls competent sexual partners, and only there is one also unrestrained by one's conscience. And the law, I might add. About halfway through, the stepdaughter calls into his room, asking for her friend. This fails to deter the friend, whose name we learn is Jill. She continues toward her goal while we, the audience, suffer through some sloppy editing of Papa and his daughter arguing. He finally scares her off, demanding his privacy. After some time, he completes in her mouth. She seems somewhat grossed out, but says she enjoyed the experience. Next is a disturbing scene. Jill remarks she has never encountered this fluid before, asking what it is. Papa inquires, "That's the first time someone has come in your mouth, huh?" She fails to swallow his shame, depositing it instead on the bathroom rug. This interaction, apart from contradicting with Jill's claim that she watches pornography, grates against my moral sensibilities. A lack of knowledge about semen indicates that this girl has either been shamefully let down by her sexual education, or that she is intended to be much younger than these characters usually are. Generally, when I partake in a film of this genre, I like to pretend that the actresses are playing college students. However, Jill must be much younger. The character, mind you. These actresses look to be in their mid-20s. This is deeply concerning and hindered my ability to enjoy the film guilt-free. He suggests she leave. She scuttles away, and he proceeds with his shower. Next, we cut back to the living room. Papa is attempting to relax on the couch, but is unable to because he cannot find the remote. The girls enter the room. He refers to them as hoodlums, much the same way as your own father might have called you a rascal when you were a child. The girls coyly request that Jill be allowed to stay the night. Again, this grates against my sensibilities, as I recall making such requests in regard to my own friends as but a boy. It therefore creates a sort of perverse nostalgia. Though we witness the video through the eyes of Papa, the scene almost makes me see through the perspective of Jill and the stepdaughter, and empathy is the last emotion you want to feel when watching pornography. The girls get on their knees and beg to allow Jill to sleep over. Papa makes a wildly inappropriate comment about how girls their age are always on their knees. Jill pantomimes fellatio to indicate her true intentions with staying the night. Papa then cuts him a deal. If they find the remote, Jill can stay the night. They agree, but unfortunately for Papa, this promise is never fulfilled. The girls hug Papa and depart while remarking, "Thanks, Dad." It's night time now. Light filters in through the blinds, which certainly indicates laziness on the set design. However, my member was fine to overlook this on my first viewing. The girls are asleep on the couch, Jill laying on the stepdaughter. Papa is upset they never found his remote and attempts to get them to go to bed. Only Jill groggily wakes, but refuses to move. After his third attempt to move her, Papa makes the absurd decision to reach for her genitals instead. How this will motivate her to go to bed, I'm not sure. She certainly seems not to mind his fondling, however. I do, given that his stepdaughter is on the same couch. She disrobes and things escalate. He proceeds to offend God by procreating before marriage. They carry on this way for about 5 minutes, almost waking the stepdaughter multiple times. We open the next morning to the three of them around a glass breakfast table. Papa says he is glad they're eating breakfast with him like traditional girls, but his desire for traditionalism in his stepdaughter's friends is obviously fairly selective. He's eating the same breakfast as the day prior, which is a nice callback. This time the stepdaughter makes no comments on his health choices. Instead, she says she has the weirdest dream the night before. She dreamt that Jill and Papa attempted to reproduce right next to her. Obviously this builds tension, as we the audience know that her dream was no dream at all. Papa and Jill feign surprise. Papa and his stepdaughter argue for a while, again demonstrating their disdain for one another. As they do, Jill rubs Papa's cock under the table. The glass table. The stepdaughter fails to ignore this indiscretion. "Are you fucking kidding me?" She stands up as she yells this. "What is she, picking some granola off your dick?" This excited reaction makes sense. The next does not. Papa tries to tell her to go get him a beer, a strange diversion one would expect to be ineffective. She gets upset, telling him, "Fuck you." He replies, "You know what? Fuck you. You already know where this is headed. You already know what's happening now." Perhaps we are about to learn what has been causing so much tension in their relationship, why she felt capable of blackmailing him earlier. She replies, "This again?" He grounds her, telling her she isn't going to be able to go on her upcoming snowboarding trip. "Can I just do what I did last time?" she queries. "Except no anal this time." Jill seems confused. As a viewer, I am not. The stepdaughter gets on all fours. Papa remarks, "Already assuming the position, huh?" As if reading my own mind. "You want to go to Oregon, don't you?" In my opinion, as disturbing as the entirety of the film has been, this line is perhaps the greatest atrocity. He could have exclaimed, "If you want to go to Oregon, you gotta take this organ." But that line failed to exit his mouth. He tells her to give him a blowjob, and perplexingly demands Jill participate as well, under threat of telling her parents she tried to seduce him. This makes no sense, as Jill has already demonstrated willingness. Why manipulate her? Perhaps Papa just can't help but to be a monster. Perhaps he is a reflection of the viewer. The girls then proceed to fulfill his request. At one point, the stepdaughter remarks, "That's impressive, Jill," and I can't help but wonder if they'll one day reminisce on the time they cooperated on this unholy task, much the same way my childhood best friend and I reminisce on riding our bikes through our neighborhood, or throwing rocks at one another in my backyard. I guess some people have very different childhoods. When Papa evidently tires of the mouths of these two victims, they disrobe at his request. I am conflicted. I enjoy this new perspective of the girls, but have distaste for the fact that Papa is also enjoying it. His stepdaughter is without undergarments, and upon seeing that Jill does in fact own this essential piece of clothing, remarks, Yeah, Daddy doesn't let me wear underwear around the house. Papa retorts, Jesus, you have to tell her all of our secrets? As though this revelation is somehow worse than knowing that he regularly extorts his teenage stepdaughter into procreating with him in the first place. The unholy acts continue, but with the upside that the stepdaughter at least appears to enjoy them. She is now on the receiving end of Papa's member. Good band name. And as Jill assists in guiding it to his target, she queries, "Do you like fucking your stepdaughter, you dirty old man?" The thought crossed my mind that perhaps she was an undercover policewoman, recording his response to arrest him for his choice in sexual partner. Alas, this particular film lacked the creative vision to pursue such a twist. Eventually, Jill lays in front of the stepdaughter, who while on all fours performs an act on Jill that I as a teenaged boy like to believe that all teenaged girls performed on one another. This is quickly ended though, sending a clear message. The girl's pleasure is not the goal, as now Jill assumes the position that the stepdaughter had just occupied. Truly a travesty for women's right to an orgasm. After a few moments of this, Jill exclaims, "He fucks me, so good." While a concerning demonstration of her grammatical prowess, this at least alleviates some guilt in the viewer. However, this guilt immediately returns when the stepdaughter replies, "Lucky for you. He doesn't even care if I like it." Certainly we should all aim to please our sexual partners, regardless of if we are a father figure to them or not. The gratuitous acts carry on for quite a while, with stepdaughter at one point asking where Papa aims to deposit his shame, when they've managed to pull it out of him. He tells her that he intends to use their faces. Stepdaughter doesn't seem as perturbed by this news as I would be. In fact, after a few more minutes, she even requests he deposit on their faces. What a change of attitude from her previous resentment for Papa. The show, nearing its conclusion, has one more twist up its sleeve, however. After Papa fulfills her request, he comments on how her mother would feel if she found out. I'd imagine even more aghast than I do. And then, in one final act of cruelty, tells her she is still grounded despite her laborious efforts. This tyranny goes unpunished, and the video comes to an end. Now for my review of the previously summarized film. On the whole, it left me feeling bereft, devoid of my humanity. I felt guilty for partaking in the fantasy it offered. I felt all the more so after the third time I watched it and performed my acts on myself, the ones God so loathes to see. However, this was not the entire story. I do enjoy some level of guilt in my adventures in incognito mode. Why else watch a film about stepfamilies? But this video took me outside of my level of ideal guilt. The essential story is that the stepdaughter is being blackmailed into reproducing with her father. He even takes this a step further and needlessly blackmails her friend into doing the same, when it has already been demonstrated that coercion was not needed. This is made all the worse with the revelation that the girls are likely young. Jill has never seen semen, and the girls ask for a sleepover. Both of these pieces of evidence seem to suggest an age range far outside my ideal guilt level. Another vexation I find with step-family films is that I don't much appreciate when the characters address one another as dad, or brother, or sister. Again, this puts me outside of my ideal guilt level. I don't want to imagine true family members being joined in intimacy. Luckily, though the stepdaughter calls Papa Dad in the beginning, he immediately responds by calling her stepdaughter. One storytelling choice of the film that I did quite appreciate was the through line of the breakfast bar. Papa is dining on the same bar at the beginning as he is at the breakfast the next day. This was likely a choice made out of sloth on the set of the film, as all they had on hand were granola bars and didn't wish to summon real breakfast food through a service such as DoorDash. But the fortunate side effect is that it aided in my immersion in the film. We experience Papa's daily routine and therefore relate more to him. I also found the young thespians playing Jill and the stepdaughter, who I would like to reiterate, appear to be well into their 20s, quite fetching. And though certainly subpar by any objective standard, the acting was actually quite good for a film of this genre. The scene about the television remote turns out to be a non sequitur, which I found quite disappointing. I expected it to be discovered within one of the characters, but unfortunately this particular story failed to abide Chekhov's gun. A weapon was unveiled in one scene, but alas, never fired. Of course this has already been mentioned, but I'd be remiss to fail to reiterate. The line, "Wanna go to Oregon, gotta take this organ," was such a deeply missed opportunity that I feel the film was significantly worsened for its absence. I did, however, greatly appreciate the ending. In a truly tragic conclusion, the girl has been redeemed by her performance of taking this organ, yet is denied her trip to Oregon. Our protagonist is no hero. He is in fact the villain of this story, and the villain wins this time. Truly a subversion of a prototypical narrative structure. He wields his power arbitrarily, and his constituents simply take it, quite literally. Perhaps we'll see a sequel someday of the stepdaughter rising up and rebelling, or perhaps this studio will release a film that is simply her in therapy, discussing the ramifications of these acts. I wait with bated breath to see what may come of it. And that, dear viewer, marks the conclusion in the first of this series, My Pornography Reviews.